Have you ever felt the invisible weight of spiritual attack in your home, despite having religious symbols displayed throughout? Perhaps you own a St. Benedict medal, that small, seemingly ordinary object tucked away in a drawer or hanging quietly on a wall, but have never experienced its extraordinary protective power. You are not alone. According to Padre Pio, the beloved stigmatic saint whose spiritual insight transformed countless lives, an astonishing 97% of Catholics have never unlocked the true divine potential of this sacred medal. What if I told you that the very solution to the spiritual battles you face has been within your reach all along, misunderstood and underutilized? Tonight, I will share with you a transformative teaching from Padre Pio about the Saint Benedict medal that has remained hidden from most faithful Catholics for generations. This isn't merely about owning a religious symbol. It's about activating a powerful spiritual shield that has protected homes, families, and individuals from spiritual attacks, illness, and negative energies for centuries. Padre Pio himself relied on this medal's extraordinary power throughout his lifetime of spiritual warfare, using it as a divine weapon against the forces that sought to derail his holy mission. The wisdom I'm about to share has already transformed thousands of lives, bringing peace to troubled homes and protection to vulnerable families. Before revealing this secret that has changed so many lives, you must understand something profoundly important about Padre Pio's teaching on the St. Benedict medal. This isn't about superstition or magical thinking. It stems from deep spiritual truth recognized by the Church for over 1,500 years. Saints, popes, and spiritual warriors throughout history have testified to its power, yet modern Catholics have gradually lost the ancient knowledge of how to properly use it. As Padre Pio often reminded his spiritual children, it is not the object itself that holds power, but the faith behind it and the blessing it carries. Tonight, you will rediscover what generations before you understood, that properly activated, this small medal becomes a conduit for divine protection unlike any other sacramental. When you hold a St. Benedict medal in your hand, you're connecting with a spiritual tradition that dates back to the 6th century, yet few realize they're holding centuries of spiritual warfare history in their palm. St. Benedict of Nursia, the founder of Western monasticism, first experienced the medal's power during a pivotal moment when enemies attempted to poison him. Legend tells us that when Benedict made the sign of the cross over the poisoned wine, the cup shattered miraculously, revealing the deadly plot against him. This dramatic moment became immortalized on the medal you may own, with the Latin inscription, Vade retro Satana, get back, Satan, and other powerful prayers encoded in the mysterious letters that encircle its edge. Padre Pio understood that this wasn't merely a historical curiosity, but a blueprint for spiritual protection that most modern believers have forgotten how to read. The medal gained even greater prominence during medieval times when it became known as the Medal of the Cross and was used throughout Europe to protect homes, barns, and fields from every manner of evil and destruction. Monks would place these medals in the foundations of buildings, bury them in farmland, and carry them during dangerous journeys. By the 17th century, the medal had been standardized with the powerful symbols and letters we recognize today, each representing a specific prayer of exorcism and protection. Padre Pio, living in the modern era, lamented how contemporary Catholics had reduced this spiritual powerhouse to mere decoration, wearing or displaying it without understanding its true purpose or how to activate its divine protection. What good is a sword, he would ask his spiritual children, if you never remove it from its sheath? You might wonder why such powerful knowledge has been lost to most believers today. The answer lies in our modern disconnection from spiritual warfare as a lived reality. While your ancestors understood the daily battle between good and evil forces, today's world has numbed many to this spiritual dimension. Padre Pio, who visibly bore the wounds of Christ and battled demons throughout his life, maintained a clear-eyed view of these realities. He witnessed how the St. Benedict medal, when properly blessed and used with faith, could transform environments plagued by negativity, illness, and spiritual disturbance. The problem is not that the metal has lost its power, he would explain, but that believers have lost their understanding of how to access that power. Tonight, you will rediscover what Padre Pio knew, that the spiritual armor you need has been within your reach all along. The first pillar of properly activating your Saint Benedict medal's power, according to Padre Pio's teaching, is proper blessing. You may not realize that an ordinary Saint Benedict medal holds only a fraction of its potential power until it receives a special blessing reserved specifically for this sacramental. Unlike other religious objects that receive general blessings, the Church has established a unique and powerful exorcism blessing for the Saint Benedict medal, one that infuses it with extraordinary spiritual authority against evil forces. Padre Pio insisted that his followers seek out a priest to perform this specific blessing, which includes prayers of exorcism that date back centuries. A medal without this proper blessing, he would warn, is like a sword without an edge. It may look the part, but lacks the power to cut through the enemy's attacks. This specific blessing transforms the medal from a mere religious symbol into a consecrated instrument of divine protection. The second pillar Padre Pio emphasized is intentional placement within your home. Rather than randomly hanging the medal or hiding it away, Padre Pio taught that strategic placement creates a spiritual shield around your living space. The blessed medal should be placed at entry points, over doors, windows, and other openings where negative energies might enter. Additionally, he recommended placing the medal in bedrooms for protection during sleep, in sick rooms for healing, and in areas where family conflict tends to arise. The medal creates a boundary that evil cannot cross, Padre Pio explained to his spiritual children. Just as you would strategically place security cameras around your property, so must you thoughtfully position these spiritual guardians throughout your home. He particularly stressed the importance of placing the medal in children's rooms, as he believed the youngest family members were often most vulnerable to spiritual influence. The third and most frequently overlooked pillar is active engagement with the medal through prayer and faith. If you truly wish to experience the Saint Benedict medal's full protective power, you must regularly renew your connection to it through specific prayers and acknowledgement. Unlike passive religious decorations, the medal requires your spiritual participation. Padre Pio taught his followers to touch the medal while reciting the prayer encoded in its letters. May the Holy Cross be my light, and let not the dragon be my guide. Begone, Satan. Never tempt me with your vanities. What you offer me is evil. Drink your own poison. He emphasized that this engagement should happen at least weekly, and especially during times of spiritual attack, family discord, or illness. The medal's power flows from God, Padre Pio would remind his followers, but your faith and prayer are the channel through which that power operates in your home. If you believe this teaching can transform your home's spiritual atmosphere, as it has for thousands of devoted followers, write in the comments, I am ready to activate this blessing in my home. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more profound spiritual teachings from the saints that most Catholics never hear about. You may not even realize your home is under spiritual attack, but Padre Pio identified several clear signs that should alert you to the need for the Saint Benedict medal's protection. Perhaps you've experienced unexplained tension in family relationships, arguments erupting over trivial matters, communication breaking down for no apparent reason, or a general heaviness in the atmosphere of your home. These, according to Padre Pio, are often the first indicators of spiritual interference. The enemy's first strategy, he would explain to troubled families who sought his counsel, is to disrupt peace and unity, for a house divided cannot stand strong against further attacks. You might dismiss these tensions as normal family dynamics, but Padre Pio recognized them as potential spiritual battlegrounds where the protective power of the Saint Benedict medal could restore harmony. Sleep disturbances represent another warning sign that your home may need the medal's protection. If you or family members experience recurring nightmares, sudden waking with feelings of dread, insomnia without medical cause, or children who become unusually afraid of their rooms at night, Padre Pio would identify these as potential spiritual influences that the St. Benedict medal was specifically designed to combat. One devotee reported to Padre Pio that after properly blessing and placing the medal above her child's bed, the nightmares that had plagued the young one for months disappeared completely from the very first night. The medal creates a sanctuary for peaceful rest, Padre Pio explained, because the prayers encoded within it have been specifically designed to guard against attacks that come during our most vulnerable state, sleep. Perhaps the most concerning sign of spiritual attack comes through persistent illness or emotional distress that defies conventional treatment. While Padre Pio never discouraged medical intervention, he recognized that some afflictions have spiritual components that medicine alone cannot address. Families under his spiritual direction reported remarkable cases of improvement after introducing properly blessed St. Benedict medals into the rooms of those suffering from chronic conditions, unexplained depressions, or anxieties that seem to possess no clear cause. The medal does not replace doctors, he would carefully explain, but sometimes it addresses the root that doctors cannot see. When medical treatments seemed to fail without explanation, Padre Pio often discovered spiritual blockages that the EI medal's protective power could help dissolve, creating an environment conducive to both spiritual and physical healing. The first critical mistake you might be making with your St. Benedict medal, one that Padre Pio frequently corrected among his followers, is treating it as a lucky charm rather than a sacred object. If you've been carrying or displaying the medal with only vague notions of it bringing good luck or general protection, you've misunderstood its fundamental purpose. Padre Pio emphasized that the medal is not a talisman operating through superstition, but a sacramental of the Church working through faith and blessing. The medal has no magical properties, he would firmly remind those who misunderstood its nature. It is not the medal itself that protects, but God's power working through this blessed object in response to faith and prayer. This distinction was crucial for Padre Pio, who saw many Catholics developing superstitious, rather than faithful, relationships with their religious objects, thereby limiting their true spiritual efficacy. Another common error you may have made is failing to have your medal properly blessed according to the specific ritual designed for it. Many Catholics assume that any blessing will suffice, or worse, that medals purchased from religious stores come pre-blessed. Padre Pio insisted on the special exorcism blessing created specifically for the St. Benedict medal, which includes particular prayers that activate its protective properties. He recounted numerous cases where believers experienced dramatic differences in the medal's effectiveness before and after receiving the proper blessing. One family had displayed an unblessed medal for years with no effect on their home's negative atmosphere. After having it properly blessed and reintroduced with prayer, they reported an immediate and noticeable shift in their household's spiritual climate. The proper blessing, Padre Pio explained, is like turning a key in a lock. It releases the spiritual potential already designed into the medal. Perhaps the most devastating mistake, according to Padre Pio, is treating the medal as a one-time solution rather than part of an ongoing spiritual practice. If you've simply hung the medal and then forgotten about it, never engaging with it through prayer or acknowledgement, you've missed a critical aspect of its purpose. Padre Pio taught that while the blessed medal maintains a continuous base level of protection, its full power is activated through your regular engagement with it. The medal works in partnership with your faith, he would explain to his spiritual children. Like a relationship that must be nurtured, your connection to the spiritual protection it offers must be regularly renewed through prayer and mindfulness. This ongoing relationship with the sacramental creates a dynamic spiritual shield rather than a static one, responding to new challenges and adapting to evolving spiritual needs within your home and family. When you look closely at your St. Benedict medal, you're actually gazing at a complex spiritual code that most Catholics never learn to decipher. The face of the medal shows St. Benedict holding his rule in one hand and the cross in the other. But surrounding this central image is a border containing 14 mysterious letters, C, SPB. These letters encapsulate a powerful prayer that Padre Pio would often have his spiritual children memorize. Crux Sancti Patris Benedicti, or the Cross of the Holy Father Benedict. This abbreviation serves as a spiritual key, unlocking the medal's protective power for those who understand its significance. Around the medal's edge runs another series of letters, VRSN SEMV, SEMQLIVB, which form an even more potent prayer of exorcism. Padre Pio explained that these cryptic letters contain a complete spiritual warfare prayer. Vade retro satana, nunquam suade mihi vana. Sant malaque libas, ipse venena bibas. Get behind me, Satan, never tempt me with your vanities. What you offer is evil, drink your own poison. The reverse side of the medal reveals even deeper layers of spiritual symbolism that activate its protective properties. Dominating this side is the cross of Saint Benedict, with additional letters at each angle of the cross, CSSML and NDSMD, which translate to, "May the Holy Cross be my light, and may the dragon never be my guide." Padre Pio pointed out that this cross-centered design wasn't merely decorative, but functioned as a spiritual lightning rod, drawing divine protection toward it while simultaneously repelling negative forces. Each symbol and letter on the medal, he would explain to those serious about spiritual warfare, represents a specific prayer and intention that has been proven effective through centuries of spiritual battle. He taught that when you understand these symbols, touching the medal while mentally acknowledging their meaning amplifies its protective power substantially. What makes these symbols particularly effective, according to Padre Pio's teaching, is their comprehensive coverage of spiritual protection needs. The medal doesn't merely address one type of spiritual danger, but creates a complete shield against multiple forms of attack. The Pax inscription, Latin for peace, establishes an atmosphere of tranquility that makes spiritual disturbance difficult to maintain. The image of Saint Benedict himself recalls his victory over poisoning and multiple demonic attacks. Even the arrangement of the symbols follows sacred geometric principles that Padre Pio recognized as creating a spiritually harmonious pattern. Nothing on the medal is accidental or merely decorative, he would emphasize to those studying its design. Each element has been carefully preserved through centuries because of its proven spiritual efficacy. Understanding these symbols transforms your relationship with the medal from passive ownership to active spiritual partnership. You might wonder if these teachings about the Saint Benedict medal's power are merely theoretical, but Padre Pio collected countless testimonies that proved otherwise. Consider the case of Maria, a devoted mother whose teenage son had fallen into troubling behaviors and dark influences. Despite her prayers and interventions, the situation worsened until she consulted Padre Pio, who instructed her to have a Saint Benedict medal properly blessed and secretly placed beneath her son's mattress. She was also to place medals over the doorways of their home and pray the encoded prayers daily. Within 3 weeks, Maria reported an astonishing transformation. Her son voluntarily abandoned his concerning friendships, asked to return to church with the family, and his oppressive mood lifted like a fog clearing on a spring morning. When she thanked Padre Pio, he simply replied, "It was not I who worked this change, but your faith working through this ancient spiritual tool that the modern world has forgotten how to use." Homes plagued by inexplicable conflict have found peace through the medal's proper application. The Bianchi family came to Padre Pio describing how their previously harmonious household had descended into constant tension and arguments that seemed to arise from nowhere. After ruling out obvious external causes, Padre Pio recognized the signs of spiritual attack and prescribed the complete Saint Benedict medal protocol: proper blessing, strategic placement at all entry points, and daily engagement through prayer. The family later wrote to him that the change in their home atmosphere was so dramatic, it seemed almost miraculous. The heaviness lifted, they reported, and we found ourselves able to communicate clearly again, as though a static that had been interfering with our relationships suddenly cleared. Padre Pio explained to them that the medal had created a spiritual environment where harmony could naturally reassert itself by dispelling the negative influences that had been fueling conflict. Perhaps most remarkable are the cases involving physical manifestations, and illness. Antonio, a farmer whose livestock had been mysteriously dying despite veterinary interventions, consulted Padre Pio in desperation. Following the saint's instruction, he had several Saint Benedict medals blessed and placed them in the four corners of his property and in each animal shelter. The deaths stopped immediately, and a prosperity returned to his farm that had been absent for months. In another case, a woman suffering from chronic nightmares and mysterious bruises that appeared during sleep found complete relief after placing a properly blessed medal under her pillow and another over her bedroom door, as Padre Pio had directed. The medal creates a boundary that certain forces cannot cross, Padre Pio explained when asked about these physical effects. This is not superstition, but spiritual reality. The same reality acknowledged by the Church through centuries of formally recognizing this sacramental's power. To fully implement Padre Pio's teaching on the Saint Benedict medal in your daily life, you must begin with what he called the morning activation ritual. Upon waking, touch the medal placed nearest to your bed and consciously invite its protective power into your day with a simple prayer. Through this blessed medal of Saint Benedict, may God surround me with protection today in all that I do. This morning acknowledgement, which takes less than 30 seconds, establishes a spiritual intention that Padre Pio considered essential for maintaining an active rather than passive relationship with the medal's protection. Just as you wouldn't expect a shield to protect you if it remains hanging on the wall, he would explain. So the medal's full power isn't automatically engaged without your participation. This simple morning ritual creates what Padre Pio described as an awakened spiritual awareness that maximizes the medal's protective influence throughout your day. When facing specific challenges or entering spiritually vulnerable situations, Padre Pio taught an enhanced engagement practice with the medal. Perhaps you're visiting a place that feels spiritually oppressive, experiencing unusual conflict with a loved one, or feeling inexplicably anxious or fearful. In these moments, physically hold your medal while reciting the full prayer encoded in its letters. Get behind me, Satan. Never tempt me with your vanities. What you offer is evil. Drink your own poison. Padre Pio reported that many of his spiritual children experienced immediate relief from oppressive spiritual influences through this practice. The medal becomes more than a passive symbol in these moments, he explained. It becomes an active conduit for divine intervention when engaged through faith and specific prayer. This targeted application focuses the medal's protective properties precisely where they're most needed in your daily experiences. For ongoing protection of your household, Padre Pio prescribed a weekly renewal ritual that too few Catholics practice with their Saint Benedict medals. Each Sunday evening, walk through your home touching each placed medal while praying. May this blessed medal continue to protect this home and all who dwell here from every evil and harm. Then sprinkle a few drops of holy water near each medal to refresh its blessing. Think of it as spiritual maintenance, Padre Pio would explain to families under his guidance. Just as you wouldn't expect your home's physical protection systems to function indefinitely without checking and maintenance, so your spiritual protections benefit from regular renewal and attention. Those who faithfully implemented this weekly practice reported sustained improvements in their home's atmosphere and family harmony, while those who neglected it often found the medal's effects gradually diminishing over time, not because the blessing wore off, but because the family's active engagement with it had faded. The Saint Benedict medal, when used according to Padre Pio's complete teaching, becomes more than just one isolated protection. It creates a comprehensive spiritual ecosystem in your home. Like the complementary layers of a modern security system, each aspect of the medal's proper use reinforces the others. The specific blessing establishes its basic authority against negative forces. The strategic placement creates a physical perimeter of protection. Your daily and weekly engagement maintains its active status rather than allowing it to become spiritually dormant. When all these elements work together, Padre Pio observed that homes developed what he called a spiritual signature, an atmosphere immediately recognizable to both humans and spiritual beings as being under divine protection. Visitors often comment that they feel peace the moment they enter such a home, he noted, even without knowing about the medals or other spiritual practices of the family. What makes this comprehensive protection possible is the medal's unique status in Catholic tradition. Unlike many sacramentals that offer general blessings, the St. Benedict medal was specifically designed and blessed for spiritual warfare and protection. It combines ancient prayers of exorcism, powerful symbolic imagery, and centuries of spiritual authority recognized by the Church. This is not merely one tool among many, Padre Pio would emphasize to those seeking protection. It is a specialized instrument refined through 15 centuries of spiritual battle and countless testimonies of effectiveness. The medal's power lies not only in its physical form but in the accumulated spiritual weight it carries, the faith of generations who have used it successfully against forces that sought to harm them, their families, and their homes. When you properly activate a St. Benedict medal, you're connecting with this river of spiritual tradition that flows from St. Benedict himself through centuries of monastic wisdom. The time to implement this teaching is not tomorrow or next week, but today, this very night before you sleep. Don't wait for signs of spiritual attack to become obvious. Padre Pio consistently taught that preventative spiritual protection is far more effective than reactive measures taken after problems have manifested. Would you wait until a thief is already in your home to install locks? He would ask those who delayed implementing his guidance. Tonight, gather any St. Benedict medals you may already own and make a plan to have them properly blessed if they haven't been. Identify the key placement locations throughout your home, entryways, bedrooms, and any areas where tension seems to concentrate. Commit to the simple daily acknowledgement and weekly renewal practices. The difference between the 97% of Catholics who own this medal without experiencing its power and the 3% who enjoy its full protection isn't access to special knowledge. It's the willingness to act upon what they've learned. The choice now rests with you.